Okay, folks, I hope you are all doing well. Please bear with me while I adjust my mic a little bit. I hope that you are all doing well. I am taking a look at Trisha Paytas and Jason Nash's relationship while it lasted. While I was shuffling my Lenormand cards, the woman, the anima in this deck, the woman card came out, flipped out twice. I'm sensing destructiveness, evil in this particular reading, and Spirit is saying yes. Okay. Folks, I'm going to do a grand tableau with my Lenormand cards. So this is where I use all of my Lenormand cards to read up on a situation, see what was going on, see why something ended, and where things could go in the future, okay? So I'm going to shuffle a little bit more first. Okay, folks, right away, I could see in the heart of the matter that Trisha really wanted a family with Jason, right? Other people have already guessed that. You are right if you guessed that, okay? But I'm also seeing here that that was a hope that died. That is really something that she wanted. And it was a really risky desire, I could see. And in fact, it was kind of a positive thing that it died, especially when you think about who Jason is and how the direction that he's gone since he broke up, since their relationship ended. I don't know exactly who broke up with who. We might figure that out in this particular reading. There's a tremendous amount of confusion around what Trisha wants in a family, and also a tremendous amount of confusion into what a family that she wants should look like. A while back, when I saw that Trisha was expecting, I did a reading, and one of the first cards that came out was the Four of Wands in reverse, around the time that her daughter will be born, right? Her having a baby is going to make her miserable. She's going to have this thing that she thought that she always wanted, this family thing, and she's going to realize, I didn't want this after all. This isn't what I wanted. Babies are a lot of hard work. This little one cries every couple of hours. I'm tired, and I want to get back to taking a look at myself. I see naivete when it comes to how confused she was about family. You know, in many ways, Trisha just flat out hasn't grown up. It's been, you know, her naivete has made it incredibly difficult for her to function in the world, right? We can see that here. And here's Trisha, okay? She is an incredibly destructive and isolated person. She was at the beginning of this relationship, and that hasn't changed still today. Even if she's married, even if she looks like she's happy to be expecting a baby, she is miserable on the inside. She is isolated, and she is destructive to others in addition to being destructive to herself. That was the heart of the matter, and there's a lot of themes that kind of spread out from there, right? Naivete kind of goes into this. Selfishness, taking their emotions like above all, right? Like emotions are valuable. They are a barometric, they're kind of a barometer of what of what's going on in our heads. But she is completely focused on her emotions, on her own emotions there, to the exclusion of everybody else, right? I feel like the men that she dates are really there for her to have a family, for her to feel like she belongs somewhere. I don't know that she ever felt like she really belonged in her family of origin, I should say. She may have always felt like an outsider, half out, half in. I've got some similarities with my mom and my sister and my dad, but not really. I don't know if she has a brother. I'm not that big of a fan, okay? I haven't studied her that deeply. I'm looking at this top row right here. This will be Jason, okay? And I'm seeing him surrounded by Trisha's destructive emotionality, just deeply, deeply selfish. And I see a lot of lies that he believed that she told, right? And to be fair, there may be some lies that Jason has told Trisha. Like, I love you. I want to be around you, for instance. Lies made in defense. I'm not saying that he's a perfect person, because by no means is he a perfect person. But when he started dating Trisha, he opened himself up to a world of hurt. I do see him heading on to some success in the future. There might be some. He might be talking in the future. This is about news and exposing news. So what that could mean is that in the future, he might do a tell-all. He might do an interview. He might write a book or something like that, where he goes into detail about his relationship with Trisha. And it might be a way for him to kind of let go of all the stuff that he's kind of been holding back behind the scenes. I feel like he's been very concerned about speaking out, because that snake is going to turn around and bite him. The Fox card is also about survivalism in the midst of a really difficult situation. It is about Trisha being selfish when it comes to her emotions, but it's also about him doing the best that he can to survive in a habitat that really, really wasn't meant for him at all. I do see this. I do see him talking about this in the future. He's going to be exposing lies specifically. There are some lies that Trisha has told that the audience, the general YouTube audience community, believes, and he's going to be talking about that. This is the distant future row, okay? So he's going to make a choice to expose the abuse to the community, basically. I see whenever he talks about Trisha, and as of this filming, this is September 5th, 2022, he hasn't really gone into detail about the trauma that he endured, and I absolutely see the trauma. I see that partly him being part of the YouTube community is what has exposed him to this trauma. Him choosing to be around, I hate to put it this way, around clout chasing groups specifically is what kind of landed him in this mess, but it's also going to be his future. It's going to be where he releases his truths, I should say. I'm seeing some sexual secrets that might be exposed in the future, like he's going to choose to expose himself in order to basically hold Trisha accountable, right? Can I just say that I feel like there were some things sexually going on that he's going to be talking about some things that made him uncomfortable doing in the bedroom. Okay, that's going to come out in the future. Now this is interesting. That's like a social sexual. He's going to be exposing, like, it's like group sex in a way. Now this is interesting. This is Trisha's naivete, like thinking that it's just going to be better the next time around. Also a very childishness about her, right? An unwillingness to grow up to handle situations maturely. But this is about her doing stuff repeatedly with dudes, and she might not be aware that this is uncomfortable for the dudes that she has sex with. And it could be that Jason exposes this in the future. Spirit saying that Trisha would ask Jason to do things sexually that he didn't necessarily want to do. Coercion. Consent under duress is what I'm hearing. I am hoping, I am praying that Jason can get all the healing that he could ever ask for. It's tragic. He's not a perfect person, but this is it's tragic. It's traumatic. Yeah. It's like he had to, this is on her row. The star is hoping for fame in this case. And he's connected to it too. He is deceived about what fame means for him and for his kids, because I know that he places a lot of importance on his kids. He believes things about fame that aren't true at all. He's chasing things that he doesn't have to chase in order to give his kids and himself a great foundation where they don't need to worry about money or really anything at all. He's chasing groups of people that he doesn't need to be around in order to be successful. And unfortunately, because he was in with the wrong crowd, he got really, really hurt when it came to love. These are the cards of fate at the very, very bottom. Again, I see a tremendous amount of dominance when it comes from Trisha. It's close to her bottom row. She has repeatedly been the person to dominate, to boss the men in her life around. It's all it's it's a marriage, right? It's a contractual agreement. Even in marriage, this would have still happened, which is what you could call right here. But it's like she has this karmic contract that she has to fulfill. You know what? My attention is being turned over to, what was that dancer boyfriend's name that she was around a lot? I feel like he genuinely cared and cares for Trisha. Whenever I've seen him, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. Whenever I've seen him, it felt like she royally screwed him over. Whenever I get into their vibes, the dancer boyfriend and Trisha's vibes, it felt like she screwed him over so royally that not even she can argue with that, right? And it feels like what she's going through right now, what she went through with Jason, is part of that karmic repayment for how she treated that boyfriend and other boyfriends who have tried to be good to her. It's sad. She doesn't have to be this way. She can grow up anytime that she likes, but she's also a very deeply isolated person. She would tell you that she's happy. I don't see a happy person here, in the past or now, or in the future for that matter. I'm looking at this row right here. He felt like he had to stay connected to her destruction, possibly to save her from herself. He felt like he could do something to save her. He felt like there was a way that he could influence her as an older person, as a daddish figure. He thought he could influence her. But we're talking about him being destroyed because of this relationship. Not fully destroyed, but hurt very deeply. Trish has done this before with family. With her family of origin, she's repeating cycles that her family have performed. Again, we come back to the sex. She needs something from her sexual partners, and she chooses this above all. There's something going on there. She does not want to talk about it. Do you see this? That's coughing. That's being, you want that buried 6 feet under. You don't want people to find out about this. But she cannot help but chase this thing that she really likes out of her sexual partners, dude. There's something going on there. Yeah. I'm again looking back at her family of origin. This is a journey that she could have changed. She could have been different than her mom, her grandmother, whoever was going through these cycles in addition to Trisha. She could have ended this cycle. We do have this particular scythe on her side. She does have the ability to end stuff when she wants to, but she has chosen not to. It was easier not to. There's some shame, there's secrecy involved, and I can see that as well. There may be some, again, since this is on the sexual secrets row, there may be some things that she saw in her family of origin, sexual things that she saw in her family of origin that she is now imitating. She may not be consciously doing this. She may also be 100% aware and just doesn't want to face what she's doing, so she just doesn't. This is someone who likes to take the easy path. And I think it's interesting that she's facing the past. I see her forever living in what she could have. I still see her being incredibly sore over what happened with Jason. I think that she'll be sore for a long time. She really did want to form a relationship, a family unit with Jason, and she did not get to have that. She's going to be thinking about that for a long time. She's got secrets, y'all. As much as she talks, she is on a journey to destruction, and she is keeping her mouth shut about the really ugly parts. She is intelligent. She does know what to say and what not to. She knows what to reveal and what to keep behind the scenes. And there's a whole lot that if she were to talk about this, it would destroy her reputation at more than it already has been. I think that she could be so ashamed if these secrets were to come out. I think that she would be so ashamed that she would actually retreat from the public eye for a little bit. I don't know how long that break would last. It seems like she's kind of chronically online. But again, we do have Jason talking about this in the future, exposing the abuse, that choosing, making a difficult choice to do this, exposing himself so that he can get his story out there. I see her possibly having to retreat a little bit, having to stay quiet and stay out of the public eye for a little bit, because this is going to kick up a lot of drama. And that's a word that we associate pretty heavily with Trisha anyway. But she's so isolated from people who care about her. And part of that is she's done that just kind of unconsciously, behaving as just a difficult child. What we have underneath the heart of the situation and above the cards of fate, she is a difficult person who alienates people. So people are going to be talking about her business. People were talking about her business behind the scenes, and they will continue to do so. It unlocks the door. I think it's so interesting that we have the key right next to the house. We open the door, she talks just a little bit, Jason talks a little bit more, and all this stuff starts tumbling out about what really went on behind the scenes. A truly destructive relationship. It was always a risk to have any kind of affection for Trisha, for any person who dates her. It's always going to be a risk that those men are going to be caught up in a cycle of destruction. And it's going to be one of those things where they can't get out. Like Moses, for instance. In many ways, I feel like the universe has brought Moses and Trisha together because they need to work out some karmic debts between the two of them. And this destructive cycle, which they've kind of gambled on and they've lost, right? The house won. Now they're going to have to work out their karmic debts with their innocent little daughter who's coming into the world very soon. You know what? It's a concern that Trisha's daughter might repeat. Spirit's saying that it's very likely that Trisha's daughter will repeat these cycles that she sees in her mother. I don't know that Trisha and her daughter are going to be that close while her daughter grows up. I feel like daughter's going to be closer to Moses and his family than she will be to Trisha and Trisha's family of origin. I don't know how that's going to work out in the kids' favor. I hope that it does. I'm seeing financial abuse. It may be that Trisha was making a whole lot more money than Jason, held this over his head, and made him do things, and again, this is connected to the sex, made him do things in addition to sexual things that made her feel good. It was ultimately a incredibly selfish pursuit. It was all about her, not about being connected to an individual that she loved. It was about her feeling good, having another person in her life to make her feel secure. And Jason did that for her. He really gives off a lot of dad energy still to this day. I know that he hangs out with people under half his age, but he gives off this dad energy that will bring in a lot of vulnerable people, which Trisha is. This is a vulnerable person who continues to stay destructively vulnerable. She does not get treatment. I don't know that she will ever get treatment. This is interesting. She believes that the kind of abuse that she put out on Jason is part of her faith. I hope I can make this make sense. She wants to be the most, God-fearing kind of person possible, and so she punishes out of that kind of religiosity, which is interesting because Trisha kind of comes and goes with the whole religiosity stuff. Sometimes she is and sometimes she isn't, but she really, I see, kind of drove Jason with that particular vehicle when they were together, which is interesting. I don't know how religious Jason is or was. That might have, again, been a cycle that her family performed on her, right? I'm punishing you because that's what's going to make you a good Christian or a good Buddhist, or I don't know how she grew up, probably Christian. So Spirit is saying no more to this particular spread. I'm going to put these Lenormand cards away, and I'm going to go get my tarot cards. We're going to do a Celtic cross. So I want to make a Celtic cross with the Numinous Tarot, and I want to ask, what can Jason do to have the best... when he talks about this, what can he do to have the best outcome possible? When he does start to talk about this, what can he do to have the best coming out? I don't know, that's not the appropriate way. When he does talk about this, how can he make this as easy on himself as possible? How can he make it work for him as best as it can? I hope that makes some sense. I did see that his central card is the Nine of Tomes, which is the Nine of Pentacles for this particular deck. This is about remembering how incredibly valuable you are just by yourself. Jason may have struggled at some point feeling like he needed or needs to be in a relationship to be someone, and this card is saying you are great by yourself. You don't need anyone to add to you because you are complete just by yourself, and he needs to see that and appreciate himself for who he is. Okay, Spirit saying take from the bottom of the deck. So that is the Page of Swords in this case, and it's called the Dreamer of Bells. Bells are going to be the analog for swords in this case. So that's going to be about talking. He might get kind of tripped up over his words because it is in reverse here. There might be some things that he needs to think about carefully before he brings them out. He needs to examine himself before he starts really talking about these things to make sure that he's done all the work, all the accountability work that he can on himself where he is now. Okay, we can always make more progress a little later, but he needs to make sure that he's done all the work on himself that he possibly can, because he needs to be squeaky clean. Not exactly clean. I don't know how many of us are perfectly squeaky clean. You know what I'm saying? But he needs to be honest about who he is as a person, be honest about his flaws, needs to own up to them, needs to say, I'm trying the best I can. I'm continuing to work on who I am. I'm going to therapy. I'm doing all these wonderful things to make myself a better person. That's what's going to get people listening, and that's what's going to turn that Dreamer of Bells upright for him, because then it will be time to start talking. There is the Page of Cups. So there might be a new emotional opportunity. There might be a new relationship where his new partner encourages him to see himself as this wonderful person who doesn't need outside validation to be amazing. This partner, this new relationship, it doesn't have to be a romantic partner, but this could be a friend, this could be a chosen family member, for instance, who encourages him to examine himself and also talk about what he went through, because Jason has some really valuable knowledge and experiences that are going to help other men who have been through abusive situations like him. I'm getting that Jason is embarrassed, ashamed at what he went through, because men don't get abused, right? He's an older individual. I believe he's in his 50s or something. Like, someone needs to correct me. Okay, I'm sorry. I believe he's in his late 40s, early 50s. He's coming from an era where that was the culture. Absolutely. Men do this to women. Women never, quote unquote, the stereotype, never do this to men. But he's having to break that barrier down and say, I was abused. I am a survivor of abuse. And I don't know that he's all the way there yet. He is having this conversation in his own head, but I see him really hesitating to talk about this whenever people bring up Trisha. There is strength. This is about him saying, I know, inner child Jason, that you are afraid to talk about this. He feels like Trisha is much more powerful, has a lot more money and influence than he does, and that's what's really holding him back. That's what held him back from talking about this for so long. And that's why he continues to hold back on details. He's really afraid. But at the point that he starts a new connection with somebody, or a wonderful surprise from the universe comes through when he was least expecting it, that's going to be the point where the watershed event starts, and he starts talking about what really happened. That's the King of Wands, and it's in reverse. And there's the Eight of Bells. He's not taking action. He's concerned about taking action. He's kind of waffling at this point. I could, but I don't want to cause waves. He's saying, I'm fine. I'm good. I don't need to worry about this anymore. I'm in good shape. I'm not with her. I'm not talking. I'm not even anywhere near her sphere anymore. But he's right now a little bit, he's believing lies, like we saw with the Lenormand spread. He's believing lies about the situation that are obsolete, but it's going to take some time for him to decompress from these mountains of lies. Trisha created a tremendous web that is very difficult for him to get out of. It's like she's gaslighting him from the past. Like, there's some things that she said that continue to gaslight him still to this day. Judgment. That's his advice. If you want to have this strength moment where he nourishes his inner child and says, at all costs, I must tell my truth, that's the Judgment card, okay? That's him leaving his cave of darkness and walking out into the light and saying, I'm ready to be a different person. I'm ready to be a role model to other men who've been through my situation, or one similar to mine. It's going to be pretty dramatic when it actually happens. This is going to be like on everybody's recommended page when he actually does talk about this. People are going to be genuinely upset. They're going to come for him. They're going to come for him hard. But by the time he comes to this stage, he's going to be, I don't care. Fuck it. I must get my truth out there, because that's my only option at this point. That's the healthiest, best option for me. That's that strength moment coming through. At all costs, I must tell my truth. I don't care who screams at me. I don't care who doxes me. I don't care who does what. I must defeat this devil. This is his hope and his fear, both. He is, unfortunately, still very much in bondage to his devil here. He has not really started the fight. Right now, he is still believing the lies. He's just trying to get away from the feeling. He's started some healing, but he hasn't even remotely started as much as he will once he actually starts talking about what happened. He cannot wait, though, to get out of this. He cannot wait to turn this devil card in reverse and defeat that devil. But right now, he's too afraid to be there. Maybe not for long. Yeah, endurance. This is about Nine of Candles. Aphrodite also talks about this card being about things getting a little bit worse before they get better here. But this is more about him being a deeply experienced individual in defending himself from people who are utterly destructive. Unfortunately, it may be that he has surrounded himself with destructive people for most of his life. That might have been his family of origin, right? You know, we're talking about Trisha's family of origin and his. Both of them might have had some really fucked up childhoods, right? Or they might have had dysfunctional childhoods. Maybe not fucked up, but dysfunctional, to say the least. This is the devil that he must defeat. And then he will nourish his inner child and be an incredibly strong person at the same time, who can teach other men and other people who go through abusive situations like he did how to be strong and powerful through it all. Yeah. On the bottom of the deck, we've got this would be the Queen of Pentacles. Normally, this is the creator of tomes, the Three of Tomes, and the Three of Bells here. Interesting. So, pairs of threes. This is about something bearing fruit. All about something coming to the forefront. This is Trisha in reverse. This is someone who is deeply selfish with their money, who spends it and then wants more, spends all of it, and then says, where's the rest, right? And he's going to be talking about how heartbreaking it was. He wanted this to work so badly. He did see her as a queen, but he did not see her as the karmic queen that she actually is. He wanted to work with her. You know, there was someone who saw that her family channel with Moses is up, and that there were some older videos with her and Jason on that channel, and I thought, and some other people thought, that she originally meant that channel to be her family channel with Jason and not Moses. And I see that Jason was thinking in that direction. You know what? With that Lenormand spread earlier, he might have been thinking, he might have been almost persuaded to have a kid with Trisha, right? Almost, maybe not almost, not to that point of actually doing it. But he was tumbling it over in his mind, working with her on channels, on stuff, on merchandise, on a family, possibly. And then it all fell apart. But this heartbreaking situation was all for the best, because it released him from this incredibly destructive individual. I wish healing to both of these people. Hurt people, that is not an excuse. It is their responsibility to avoid hurting other people. Folks, that was a reading on Trisha and Jason and their past relationship and what's coming up in the future. This isn't done by a long shot. Y'all have a great day.